We're going to make walnut twist cake. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to give you the recipe, how to actually make the dough for it. I went ahead and made it in my dough machine, but you can certainly make it by hand. But this is the recipe. It is 1 cup of room temperature water, 1 large egg that has been beaten, 4 cups of bread flour, 3 tablespoons of dry milk, a half a teaspoon of salt, 6 tablespoons of melted butter, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, and 1½ teaspoons of dry yeast. And I will have the recipe below the video. I just took it out of my bread machine so you can see how beautiful that it raised. Now again, you can make this by hand if you prefer. But I did it today in my bread machine, and it has come out really nice. I put some flour on my board, and I'm just going to lightly push on the dough a little bit to get that air out of it. And what we want to do is next is to actually use our rolling pin, and we want to get a rectangle out of this, and we want it to be about 24 inches by 16 inches. So I'm going to start working on that. Now I usually use actually a measuring tape for this, but I'm going to try to just eyeball it. Move my dishes around here a little bit, getting in the way a little bit. And you want to try to make it as even as possible. There we go. Okay, there we have it. Next, what we're going to do is actually make the filling for it. So we're going to start off with a bowl, of course, and we're going to start off with 1 3/4 cup of ground walnuts that I did in my blender on the chop cycle. We're going to put in a half a cup of brown sugar with the nuts, and we're just going to mix that together. Break up that brown sugar with the walnuts. And now we're going to put in a half a teaspoon of nutmeg into that. And we're also going to add 2 egg whites of large eggs, and that's at room temperature. And we're just going to mix this together. It's going to form actually like a paste. Now you can do this by hand with a spoon or a spatula. Just want to make sure that I've blended it well. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of brandy. And then combine it. Okay, and that's what that looks like. All right. What I like to do is actually smooth it out in my bowl so that's quite even, because I'm going to be cutting that in half in a moment. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to need to cut this dough into halves because we're going to need 2 pieces. And you actually want to cut it on the length side of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this in half all the way down. So then I have 2 pieces like that. And what I was talking about, I divide it into half. So I just actually cut it with my knife so that I can see. And I actually place that half of those nuts on my dough. And then with the knife, just try to start to spread it. Now this is a bit thick, so it is a little bit difficult to spread this. You want to leave at least one edge about a 1/2 inch without any of the topping or the filling. Otherwise, try to bring it as close as you can into the dough and into the edge, but leave this one side of the edge about a 1/2 inch without any of the filling. All right, now we're going to do the other half. On the dough. Set that bowl aside. Because this recipe takes such a long time, that's one of the reasons why I didn't make the dough in the video, because this does take a bit of time to show you how to do this. So again, just start using your knife and stretch that mixture. Leave this inner side about a 1/2 inch without the filling. And just stretch it, pull it with your knife. Try not to tear the dough. If it does, just use your fingers to try to bring the dough together if you end up tearing it. And just spread it as even as possible. It is quite thick and syrupy, so you really do have to kind of really press on it. Okay. The next thing is that we're going to do is we're actually going to start rolling this in a jelly roll fashion, and I'm going to start on this edge, and remember to work towards the dry edge. So just roll that out like a jelly roll. Try to have it come out as even as possible as you're rolling. So we have one done. And then just kind of seal the bottom with your hand from the top to the bottom. And then also square off your sides, the top and the bottom rather, to bring that together. And again, we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're just going to roll it up as even as possible in the jelly roll style, leaving that dry edge where we close it. All right. Then again, just try to tuck those edges under as best as you can, and then seal off the ends at the top and the bottom. Just kind of push it or pinch it together. You want them to be as quite even as possible. And then now we're just going to lay one piece over the other, being careful not to tear our roll here. All right. And the next step that we're going to do is we're going to actually start to pull it together to make a complete circle, like that. You're going to need a 9 or 10-inch pan, spring pan, and lightly oil it. And now what you want to do is just add a little bit of water to your fingertips on the ends, and you want to join these two sides together. So just pinch them with your fingers so that they come together. And then you're carefully going to lift this and put it into your pan, and then push it to this right as far as you can to the back of the pan. Reseal those two connecting parts, and it will look like this in your pan. Now you're going to put this in a preheated oven at 400, and you're going to bake it anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes. So start checking in at about 25 minutes, because as we know, all ovens do set up differently. Now what else you're going to do is you're actually going to take a piece of saran wrap or clear wrap, spray it with some oil spray, put that on top, and then be sure to lay a towel over it and let it double in size. And that could take 35, 45 minutes or even an hour, but you don't want to bake this till it actually doubles in size. So do put a towel or a piece of clear wrap over that till it does rise to double. Now you're going to need a topping for that when it comes out. So this is the recipe for the topping. Once the cake has well turned warm, not when it's hot. You're going to start off with 1 cup of powdered sugar, also 1 cup of hot water into that. You're going to put a half a cup of maple syrup into that. And you're going to mix it together. And then I have an additional half a cup of powdered sugar to make the glaze. Now, if you want your glaze thicker, just add a little bit more powdered sugar. And you can use this with a spoon or a spatula. And once you mix that and get all the lumps out, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to show you the finished product. Just want to clean my countertop here so I can show you. And here it is. Walnut swirl cake. You can serve it warm, you can serve it cold. It really comes out quite beautiful. I hope you like this recipe. Give it a try. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.